Babylon beware, it's guerrilla warfare. It ain't fair. I'm my ancestor. I'm back. Yeah.
This video presentation is used as fair use as a disclaimer for educational purpose only. All instrumental music is used as fair use for educational purpose only as a disclaimer.
Russia's paramilitary proxy group Wagner have begun to try and influence one of the parties. They, we believe, from the evidence that we've seen, are have been resupplying the Rapid Support Force paramilitary group. Take a look at this. The Sudanese and the Libyan armies celebrated a successful joint operation Wednesday, April 19th, near the remote desert border between Libya and Sudan, having captured the Chevrolet garrison belonging to the rival Sudanese paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the RSF. But why is this garrison important, given how far it is from the existential fight in Sudan's capital, Khartoum? Because CNN can reveal that the fight in Khartoum is being influenced by what was happening at that garrison, a Russian resupply campaign backed by a key regional player aimed at turning the tide in Sudan's war in favor of the RSF, who have been a key recipient of Russian training and military aid. In collaboration with All Eyes on Wagner, a research group focusing on Russian proxy Wagner, CNN investigated the group's current presence in Libya. You can see here on April 16th, one day after the fighting began in Khartoum, a Russian Ilyushin 76 transport plane at the Al Jufra base in Libya, previously identified by American intelligence as a Wagner base. 3 days later, this same plane is spotted by flight tracker aviation expert Gurjan, coming back from the Russian airbase in Latakia, Syria, before returning to the Libyan airbase in Khadim. Images of that same plane began circulating online April 17th, heading in the direction of Sudan. Sudanese and regional sources tell CNN that weaponry was airdropped to the RSF within that time frame, April 15th to April 18th, to the Chevrolet garrison during a period of fierce fighting, boosting the RSF. The Al Khadim and Al Jufra bases, where the Wagner planes departed from in Libya, are under the control of Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, who commands territory in the east of Libya. Haftar and the commander of the Rapid Support Forces, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, aka Hemeti, have in common strategic alliances. One with Wagner, who Haftar is hosting in his territory in Libya, and whom a previous CNN investigation exposed as working with Hemeti to extract Sudanese gold. A second with the United Arab Emirates, who tapped Hemeti to send forces to the conflict in Yemen and backed Haftar in the fighting in Libya. What does it all mean for the ongoing misery and conflict in Sudan? It means that both a regional, Libyan General Haftar, and a global player, Russia, are putting their thumbs on the scale, which raises the stakes for the region, for the global balance of power, and for the people of Sudan caught in the crossfire. We reached out to both Haftar and Wagner and didn't receive a response to our request for comment. An RSF spokesperson denied that they were currently receiving support from Libya or Russia, although they had previously denied, when our investigation exposed their relationship with Wagner, that there was a relationship. So at least this time they've admitted that they had a previous relationship, for what that's worth, Jake.
Black power to the people, peace and black power to the people. My black people, if this is your first time coming into my channel, make sure you mash up the like, share the video, come in subscribing. Please come in subscribing to the channel. Share the video, hit that notification bell at the bottom so you always be in the crosshairs and when I drop one of these hot videos. Yes, I am Soldier C. I'm Black at y'all with another one. Another hot video, a topic that we need to pay attention to and be aware what's going on in the world. Don't be a lost sheep and guessing just because you see something on TV and they don't go in detail about what's happening in the world as it relates to black people, as it relates to black nations such as Africa. Have you ever heard of proxy wars? Proxy wars Proxy wars are people who set back and finance wars, people who influence wars between nations, like someone who gets something started and pulled back and watch the nation dies for its benefit. The beneficiary of these proxy wars are the people who funnel the wars with monies, the American dollar. So, fam, these wars that you see right now, as it deals with Africa, it's always a proxy war, staging coups. You know, you got one African leader who's been reigning for several years, and then all of a sudden, his power is relinquished by the people and other personnels who are being put in position to have the power and might to oust a particular individual. And most of these individuals are replaced because of outside influence. Yes, what's happening in Sudan is because of proxy wars. Russia and Khartoum, Sudan, have finalized a deal to establish Russia's naval base in Sudan. The American government has warned Sudan government not to allow this particular naval base to be built in Africa, in Sudan. Russian missionaries have a reason for being in Sudan. Russia has a reason why it's in Sudan. It's called extracting gold mining. America have sent fighter jets into Sudan. This is how America reacts when she can't get her way. She calls strife in nations. So I don't know, because there's so much corrupt when you're dealing with Sudan. You know, the killing of Black Christians by ignorant Black people who are Muslim, who also have some Arab blood running through their bloodline. You got Arabs coming into Sudan, spreading Islam, tranquilizing the people mentally to kill their own people who may be Christian. This is not spirituality at all. So Sudan have a propensity, has a history, a track record of allowing Islam to be the final resolution for anything that happens in the country. No one puts their race first before Islam. Put Africa first. Islam was used as a tool to enslave Black people. So we already have a fraction of self-hatred going on in Sudan, because they already got this Islamic Islamic mindset. It doesn't even see itself as African. It sees itself as an Arab nation. When you're African, put the people first. So I don't know what fraction. You got General Muhammad Hamadan, him and his military, because it was one military. Now you got General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. These are two military forces fighting against each other. So one for Russia, niggas fighting for Russia, and niggas fighting for America. These entities are fueling these wars. These are called proxy wars, outside influence. A lot of Negroes that I be having big debates with, I call them Negroes because they act like they can't see. Once you break it down to them, they just don't want to point to white supremacy as being the culprit or the cause, because they love white people so much they can't believe that white people are influencing these wars in Africa. It's always the American dollar that gets into Haiti to uproot its presidents, uproot its stability. See, the name of the game is to keep black people off balance. So black people in Africa, how come you haven't spoken out against this? Because of China, because of Russia is befriending Africa. All of a sudden, these people want to befriend Africa. We can't get rid of one colonizer, which is the American people, the Western world, France, Germany, America, who colonized and disrupted the stable conditions in Africa, who got Africa in turmoil today, who enslaved Africans and brought Africans to the Western world, in which Negroes now in agreement that didn't happen. We know it's documented proof that slavery out of Africa happened. These proxy wars in Sudan. And who's going to suffer the most casualties? Black people. Both sides are fighting each other over capitalism. Capitalism is poison. They are fighting each other over capitalism. This warning that America gave the ambassador to Sudan, John Godfrey, before this war took place, John Godfrey of the United States of America, the ambassador, America's ambassador, warned Africa, Sudan, Africa, Khartoum, Africa, Djibouti, not to allow Russia to build a naval base in the Red Sea. Do not build a naval base in Sudan, Red Sea. See, these proxy wars in Africa go way back to like 60 years, 70 years ago, during Russia and America's Cold War stance. And these wars led to the death of thousands of Africans all across Africa, even in Kenya. The Mama uprising, where the British backed certain soldiers, black soldiers, African soldiers in Africa to destroy Kenya. course, some Great Britain soldiers died in this uprising, but the majority of Africans always pay the price. These proxy wars. And that's what you see, brothers and sisters. So you be seeing all those planes, all the bombing, all the killing in Africa, in Sudan. I know they're not telling you that America and Russia is fueling these wars, proxy wars. Russia has finalized a deal with Sudan to establish a Russian base in Sudan's Red Sea coast. This is what this is all about. Africa, I warn you, watch China, watch Russia, because it's racism in Russia. Yes, they racist in Russia. Racism in China. So black people in Africa, all the heads of states, my Pan-African leaders over there, you know, in war, you got to watch your enemy. These are enemies of black people. Just the common Chinese people. Majority of the Chinese people, not saying all Chinese people, they hate black people. Majority of white people hate black people. We have a problem with the majority. So, with that being said, the heads of states in Africa must be careful when dealing with an enemy. It's okay to do business, long as Africa is benefiting from the business. Also, since China and Russia feel that they want to be friends with Africa, Africa wants some military weapons, just like China, just like Russia, just like America. Africa wants to be on the big stage as a world leader. We got the raw resources. Africa has all the resources that the world needs. The world needs to bow down and respect Africa. So if the Chinese and the Russians feel they want to be our friends, where's the weapons at? We want to buy weapons. We don't want no secondhand. We want the same kind of capability to be able to have a sovereign continent. We want to protect ourselves. Because I do believe we have the engineers in the country of Africa that can build weaponries to protect our country, our mother country. So beware, my African brothers and sisters, heads of states. Watch the Chinese. Make sure all deals benefit the people of Africa. They need Africa. And that's why Chinese is in Africa. This is why Russia is in Africa. This is why America wants parts of Africa. It's all happening all over again from the Berlin Conference of 1883, 1884, 1885. Go back and look at the Berlin Conference. All these white people got together from different nations and carved up Africa for themselves, colonized Africa for themselves. That's why Africans in Africa, some don't know the history of their great ancestors because they was colonized and given a colonized education, a colonized language, just like Negroes in this country have a colonized language and a colonized education and can't see through none of that malnutrition information that's been put in our minds as a people. So when you see these proxy wars, You know, they outside influence. You feel what I'm saying? The president of Sudan, former president, was Omar al-Bashir, who reigned for about 20 some years, maybe 17, 20 years. He was ousted in the coup. I don't know if he was just a man set to only let Islam be the decision maker in his reign or within his cabinet. We're not Islamic people. We're African people first. So put the people first. We need to put the people first. I don't know who working with America, but Sudan has been an occupation by these foreign rulers. This is why Sudan would never have peace until it be a religious free country. What I mean by religious free, don't matter what you believe in, you got to put the African first. If you're not putting the African first, that government will always be toppled with Islamic mindsets, Christianity mindset, and backwards Negroes who like to work for the opposition to undermine their own people. That's what's going on around the world. That's what's going on in Africa. That's what happened with Haiti. Black people letting the proxy people win who influence these wars for black people to kill each other. That's all you see. That's all who gonna suffer in Sudan is the citizens over there. Africa opened up the gates and let the citizens of Sudan rescue the citizens of Sudan, because this is white man's manufactured war, proxy war, influenced by white outsiders. They are the dividers. It's crazy, man, how we let the minority rule so many of us. Black people outnumber worldwide white people 11-1. They the minorities on our planet. You got Tanzania kicking back, pushing back against America, Kenya, Uganda. I was waiting to see who America was going to attack first. They attacked Sudan. All because of what? Two fractions of the Sudanese military are fighting because of this naval base that America warned Sudan not to have been built. It haven't been built yet, but they finalized the deal. And the American government got a hold to it, like the ambassador to Sudan from America. That's crazy how they put people in position to be the ambassador to Sudan. He's the ambassador to Sudan, but from America. John Godfrey warns the Sudan government, do not let Russia build a naval base in Sudan. So American government have sent fighter planes to Djibouti in Sudan. I think France sent some military equipment into Sudan. You don't get this kind of information on ABC, NBC. They just show you a distable African nation in chaos, in an uproar. Hey, this Black Power Hour. Y'all know what it is. Mash up the likes, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace. Black power.